So Dennis, you're a fan of caving. How long have you been caving for?
Oh Lord. So what's that? 40 years, 35, 40 years, something like that.
Is caving considered a sport, a hobby? What is it
Yeah.
considered? Okay.
Yeah. It's a calling.
I'm not familiar with that word. A calling?
It's a calling. You know how the Lord calls these men to be a preacher?
Calling.
Yeah, caving calls me to go.
It's fake.
Yeah, I've been cave exploring for quite some time.
Inspired the chili movement.
That's it. With the Bad House Chili. Oh gosh, I don't know. I've always been, a backpacker and a hiker and outdoorsy guy. When I was 21, I think, I had just got married to my first wife, and we moved in some apartments over in Tucker, and it was just full of young people, college kids, and we were young. I mean, everybody was young, and so we all used to get together and go camping and stuff up in the mountains. And one day the guy said, "Hey, have you ever been in a cave?" And I said, "No." "Well, come on, let's take you to a cave." Well, unbeknownst to me, I had no idea these guys they taught me, they took me caving, but it was totally wrong. They showed me how to rappel off the side of this cliff over here, and taught me how to rappel a few times, which, and by the way, that's very hard to do. The worst part, when I say hard to do, is standing on the edge at the top with nothing holding you but a rope about that big around. And that's kind of hard to do. Step off that edge, because everything in your body, your whole soul is screaming, "Don't do it. You're going to die." But now, I don't even think about it. I just jump right off. And anytime, if you still get the butterflies, if you don't get the butterflies, it's time to quit. It really is. But no, they took me to this cave, and it had a 110-foot entrance pit, and they threw that rope over the edge there, and I went over the edge, and we spent about, probably 5 or 6 hours down there exploring. And it was really cool. Huge caverns, underground waterfalls. Just, and it was just, crawling and standing and pulling and pressing, and it's really a workout. But then when we came back out, and they said, "That's the way up." 110 feet doesn't seem like that far, but when you're at the bottom looking up, and the only thing you got to get out is that rope. So they taught me, they showed me how to use these climbers. They called them a Jumar. And one in this hand and one in this hand, mountaineers use them. And it like to kill me. Took me about 25, 30 minutes to get that 110 feet. And I thought, when I got to the top, my arms were locking up, my legs were locking up. I couldn't understand. Now, with the equipment that I have now, which I hand built, by the way, I can do that pit in about 32 seconds. That's the difference of, a good climbing equipment can do for you. But I was determined that I was going to do that again. And I loved it. I wanted to do it again. But I knew I couldn't do it with what they had. It just wasn't possible. 2 or 3, 4 years later, I had developed my own climbing rig. In the meantime, there's a lot of caves you can walk right into, have a great time, spend all day. I did a lot of that. But in the meantime, I was working on building myself a way to climb a rope, because I wanted to do it. It just developed from there.
So 1978 was your first cave exploration. So
Yep.
How often do you go caving currently?
Currently, well, I had that boot on my foot for a year and a half. So it's been, 3 or 4 years since I even been caving. And I'll be 68 years old next month. So I'm not a spring chicken either.
What was your last cave exploration?
I believe it was when I took my son, my youngest boy, over to a cave in North Alabama. It's really, really, it's got, I don't know, probably, I want to say 5,000 kilometers. Does that sound right? A mile and a half, 2 miles, something like that. That's probably the last one. It was a walk-in cave.
Do you prefer wild caves or commercialized caves?
I don't do commercial caves. I've been in 2 commercial caves my whole life.
Oh,
One was at Ruby Falls, which I was not impressed, okay? And one was up in New York, Cobleskill, New York. It was a big commercial caverns up there. We had a big convention up there one year of the National Speleological Society. They had a convention every year in different places around the country. And we had one up there, you know, to enjoy the 50th anniversary of the NSS. And they had that commercial cave up there. Man, half of it was dug out. Looked like they took a backhoe in there and dug it out. It was, it wasn't even a real cave, just tunnels. But we had a good time. We always do.
I've always been interested in this question I'm about to ask you. But why do people cave in tight spaces knowing there's a chance of them not coming back out?
Yeah, but knowing that there's something on the other side of that tight squeeze, that's what you're looking for. Okay, that's what you're going for. Now, tight squeezes now, not all caves are like that. You know, I mean, like, sometimes there's crawling and stuff, but for the most part, caves are big, cavernous places, and the squeezes are usually short and sweet, less than 100 feet or so. It might be in a stream bed, a gravel stream bed with about this much water in it, and about this much airspace, you know, so it's usually a lot of fun because when you're going through there, the water backs up against you. And you have to keep your head out of the water.
Where's the most interesting thing you located while caving?
Bones.
Bones. Okay.
Bones. A friend of mine found some bones, a pig, 30,000 years old, in a cave right up here in Cartersville, Georgia. Yeah, I found a few bones. When you find, like, there's this one place we went to, big hole in the ground by the railroad tracks, and it's like 50 feet deep, and there's no real cave at the bottom. We just wanted to go see it and check it out. There were two hunting dogs down there, dead and gone, and we started calling it Dead Dog Pit. But yeah, and my other friend, now we were up, where were we at? I can't remember. There was a small, tiny little crack in the ground that we crawled down into, and it was barely wide enough to stand up in. And down in the corner, you could tell it's just a washout, you know, but it's like rock, okay? But it looks like it just washed out. But we found some bones, a raccoon head, stuff like that. You know, you find all kind of interesting things. Salamanders, bats. I've seen bat bones, calcified bat bones. They look like they're melted into the rock. It's really cool.
Have you ever been told kindly to stop caving, like by loved ones or even friends, for the sake of your safety?
Well, I know my wife doesn't like it a lot, but nobody's ever told me no.
I mean, you mentioned your first cave exploration. You and your friends were caving for 5-6 hours. You mentioned, was that the longest time you went caving?
Oh no. I've not done any expedition caving where you go for days at a time, but I've spent, you know, probably 12 hours in a cave before.
12 hours?
Yeah, 12, 13 hours underground.
And you were active the whole time you did?
Oh yeah, shoot, yeah. Some of these caves are big. Of course, you take a break every now and then, you know, take a snack with you.
So in 1978, you were taught how to cave, but have you ever...
You can't teach anybody how to cave.
Okay.
I mean, you know, remember when you were a kid, you would climb all over rocks and trees and stuff like that? Well, if you equate that to being in a cave, you're climbing over rocks and, you know, squeezing under things and, you know.
What is this skill set? What's the skill set that you develop?
Just physical. There's, you know, and of course there is some, you know, you have to know common sense and safety. You gotta, you know, caving is probably the most dangerous thing you can do. You can twist an ankle 1,500 feet into a cave, and it could take you a day and a half to get out. You know, they may have to bring in a rescue squad to get you out.
How common are cave deaths?
Well, Personally, my personal opinion is too many. I think one year there was 30 or 35 happened in one, I mean, there's so many different ways that it can happen. A lot of times people just do dumb stuff. Kids or teenagers or, unexperienced people, they do things that kills, they get killed. But it's not that bad. No, I mean, I've never seen anybody die. I mean, you just got to be aware. You got to be careful. You got to have the right equipment. You got to have the right shoes on. The boots. You got to have the right. You got to protect yourself from hypothermia. A lot of people nowadays wear gloves. We didn't wear gloves back then, but a lot of people wear gloves, and you can hurt yourself. You got to be very careful.
Is that something you had to tell yourself to start wearing gloves since it was something you weren't doing back in the day? When you were
I guess. I mean, I don't. What? My hands used to be so rough because I was a mechanic that when I went and I didn't have gloves on, when I came out, my hands would be so smooth, rubbing all over them rocks. That's why I don't like working on cars with gloves on. No, just me. That's just me.
Caving, was there ever a time you felt your oxygen level getting low?
No, there's a few caves that have bad air spaces. Like if it's got a real high bat population, there'll be a strong ammonia smell. And, there's this one place up in North Georgia, back in the 60s, they had a gas spill out of one of the local gas stations. The lower level of the cave, you can't go down in there anymore. It's better nowadays, but there's still bad air down there.
Describe a time or the times you were stuck in a cave and felt that you weren't going to return home.
Hey, you never felt like that. Like I said, man. Now there's been some times when, there might have been a question or two about how long it was going to take, but
no close calls.
But no close calls. No, I'm not going to put myself in that situation.
So you always knew that you were going to return home.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah. The only thing that's going to kill me is another car.
You remember in 2018, the 12 boys, along with their coach, were stuck in a flooded cave in Thailand for 2 weeks?
Oh, absolutely.
Did that have an impact on you? Affect you?
All it did was, and see, you got to remember it renewed my commitment to safety and having the right equipment. Okay. But they're in a different country. So, that might have been an everyday thing for them to walk in there barefooted with shorts on and, just paddle it around on the mud. I don't know. I think had they been a little bit more prepared and aware of what was going on around them, that I don't think, it would have been that bad. Because there's an English diver that died there that day. An English diver, yeah, trying to get him out.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
That died in that cave. So, I mean, everybody else's life was at risk too. So, those first responders, man, they're really something.
What are the stereotypes associated with people who love caving?
Nerds. Scientists, doctors, biologists, brainy people. You know what I'm talking about? College brainy kids, and they seem to like it. That's what I mean, like nerd. Me, I was just a redneck. I was just a redneck that liked to go cave.
Is it healthy to drink cave water?
Oh, I'm not going to say I haven't, but I wouldn't make a practice out of it. Now, if you know that water's coming up out of the ground, like a resurgent, if I'm way down deep into a cave and the water's coming up out of the ground, yeah, I'll drink it. If that water's running in from the outside, you don't know what's in that water.
Which U.S. state has the most caves?
North Alabama has 5,000 caves, at least. Tennessee has 7,000 or 8,000. North Georgia, there's about 600. That area, they call it TAG, Tennessee, Alabama, Georgia, okay? That area is Swiss cheese. There is caves everywhere.
What is the most challenging cave that you've ever explored?
Oh, gosh, that's a good question. Probably There's one in North Georgia that you have to drop a 125 foot into a waterfall. You go on the side, the water's coming out like this, and you rappel down, and then you go along about 100 yards or so, and then there's a hole in the ground that's 593 feet deep. Take 50 stories of the Plaza Hotel and drop in that thing. That's how big it is. There's a hole here. There's 14 miles of cave in there.
Does it have a name?
It does, but I ain't allowed to tell you. We do have secrecy. And that cave is too dangerous. It's too highly technical. It's too dangerous. People don't need to be going in that cave unless you know exactly what you're doing.
Other than you, who else knows about that cave?
A lot of people.
Okay.
A lot of people, yeah. It's a very famous cave.
But they cannot share it with the public.
Well, we don't, it's just an air of secrecy. If you got every Tom, Dick, and Harry from the neighborhood going in there, they're going to tear it up. They're going to destroy it. They're going to, what we call elephant tracks. They'll stomp it to death, and you take, beautiful, pristine areas, make a path around so you don't go in and then people, no, it's a very secret thing. Now, it's not that hard to get into. You just need to contact the National Speleological Society and get with a local grotto, a local cavers group. Get interested with them. They have monthly meetings around town. Different, there's probably 5 or 6 local grottos here that I can think of. Yeah, they'll take you out. They'll take you caving. They'll make sure you get your equipment lined up. And as you go, you learn. You see this guy's got this, and it makes his job a little easier. So, so you learn. You pick it up.
What is the best advice that you would give to someone that's entering?
Go for it. Go for it. Like I said, contact your local grotto. Get involved. Might have to go on might have to spend a little time on a cleanup weekend or something like that. That's where we would actually go into a cave and pick up trash and broken bottles and stuff like that. Try to clean graffiti off, or sometimes people will go up and they'll dump up in the mountains. They dump everywhere. If there's a hillside, they're going to cover it up with tires and washing machines, so sometimes it's, going in there and helping to get all that stuff out and get it opened up where you go back in the cave again, because it'll close up the cave. But there's a lot of great people you can meet, and they'll take you out on weekend trips, and they'll start you off in what we call a beginner's cave. They get you in there and see if you like it. Okay, if you don't like it, there's no harm done. But and everybody understands. I took a kid into a cave one time and got him into a squeeze. And it's pretty tight squeeze. It's only about this high, and it goes for quite a ways. And he flipped out on me. So I had to very calmly, encourage him to turn around, get him turned around to where I could get him back out of that cave, because the first part of the cave was great. But when we got into that squeeze, he was done. And he's never been back, far as I know. So, it's not for everybody. You gotta know but once you find out you do one or two, you'll figure it out. Heck yeah, I love this. Or no, never mind.
When you took your son caving, was he a fan of it?
My youngest boy loves it. He loves it.
Lastly, this is a scenario type of question. Let's say you had to go to one cave for the rest of your life. You couldn't go to any other caves but this one. What would that cave be?
That's hard to say, because every one is different. There's something spectacular about every single one. That's hard to say. I can't any of them. It doesn't matter.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, North Georgia. Yeah. North Georgia, up in Rising Fawn, Georgia. Up on the corner of Alabama and Georgia and Tennessee. It's right there.
Going to that cave would never bore you?
Nah, never.
Dennis, thank you for this discussion.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I enjoyed it.